and welcome back to another episode of WTF is AuDHD with late diagnosed sisters Ellie and Paige. We were diagnosed late.
And we're here to educate.
Yes, beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. We're just concentrating today on our microphone sort of angles because we have received some feedback about the audio coming in and out, so we're trying our best to amend that.
And look, I'm being honest, I'm trying my best, but remember guys, I have tics. So sometimes I can't help it.
Yeah, sometimes her face does move away from the
Sorry,
mic.
was that like really sassy?
No, it's fine. I don't even think it's necessarily to do with that. It's also to do with my editing. I'll take half the responsibility on that.
But I'm trying really hard to stay centered right now.
Yeah, no, it looks good. It's looking good.
Okay.
And project, really project.
Really, from the belly.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes.
Hi there. Today's episode, we're going to chat a little bit about employment and careers and being neurodivergent and what that is like. Basically, we're going to pull on our life experience and share more about our working life to perhaps maybe help you feel less alone. Because we've had a few people comment into the Google forms about the subject exactly. I think people aren't necessarily wanting answers, but they're wanting to feel less alone about their burnout or their inability to maintain a job or the guilt that they carry because they enjoy a job for 3 months and then within 3 months they're bored. And so we just want to talk about our life experience, give you our perspective. And I've also asked a few people on the Reddit about what jobs they even do, because it is really hard to find a job that suits people who are neurodivergent, especially if you're AuDHD, because there's such a conflicting condition. You want novelty in your job, but then you want consistency, and it's very hard.
But then on top of that, even when you do find something that you like, because you're AuDHD and you're opposites, and it's like you're all in, like you said, within 3 months you get bored of it, regardless of whether you love it or not, which is like really frustrating. Yeah, it's like actually one of the most frustrating things for me in my life is the consistency thing. Yeah,
me too. So we'll talk a bit about that. But first of all, we'll just start off by chatting to you, Paige, because you've had a bit of burnout. And you wanted to share a little bit about it just so people could like maybe see that you deal with this as well, and what's that been like?
So I was a bit burnt out for a while.
Why are you South African now?
I don't know. Hey,
why do you do this now?
I don't know now. Hey. Okay. So I was burnt out there for a while and I was really struggling. Like it literally felt like I was walking through mud, as you explained. Walking up the stairs, everything was hard. I was getting tired at like needing to go to bed super early. Anyway. I find like when I have those moments, I mean, I am in a privileged position because I do work for myself, and so I've built a life to really suit me and my AuDHD in particular. But so I'm very lucky in the sense that I can do this and have the freedom to do this now. But I really just take it back to the basics when I'm feeling like that. I don't see people. I say no to social interactions. And I just literally focus on the bare necessities. Anyway, so like try to get like 8 solid hours of sleep a night, eat well, and literally just focus on those 2 like main things, drink lots of water. And then I find that when I forget about everything else and just focus on those things, then you can then build the capacity to start doing other things. Like, so I went for like a little 5-minute run, like a real short 5-minute run. And now I'm starting to feel better. So like that's coming awesome. Back to the basics and focusing on that has been really good. And that's how I've, got out of it.
Nice. I think when we are in those burnout states, we do forget about the basics and everything just feels too hard. But just starting with one little task like that, like a 5-minute run, just starting with that. I know that even sounds hard in itself.
Or just like 8 hours of sleep and not scrolling on your phone before bed. Those 2 things alone has made a huge difference. And then you're able to like have the capacity. It's almost like dopamine,
it's like a dopamine reset.
Where you're just,
It's hard though, especially when you've got ADHD. But that's awesome to hear that it's helped you kind of, like I think from what I observed, you going back to those basics, it kind of didn't fix itself immediately because burnout takes ages, but it kind of fixed the temporary distress you were in. Like I feel like you then sort of awakened a bit and then you were able to, like you say, put your parameters in place going forward.
Yes, I was more present. I came back to the present moment and literally did not worry about anything else except for those not tiny, but those little things. I will say though that before I was medicated, coming out of burnout is a lot harder because you are trying to, when you're feeling that crappy, you're trying to find dopamine by scrolling and you're almost just making it worse. Yeah. So I feel like it's a different lens that I'm coming from. Like now that I'm medicated, I'm able to do those things. Whereas when I look back at when I was burnt out, you just wanted to eat more crap. You just wanted to lie in your bed even longer. So I feel for people out there who are in that position.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I know medication's not always great for everyone, but for me, it did change my life. And so I think that has helped me be able to set those parameters back in place, like when I know I'm burnt out.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because it's so hard and it's so lonely out there when you're feeling just like you can't do anything. And yeah, it's just really tough. So thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to start off with a little comment on our Reddit. 1 minute. Sorry. We've got our Reddit, which you can join if you go to our link tree. There's a link there. Come and join. We just people can chat in there, and then we sometimes can read some of these things out in our episodes. And this one this week from the Reddit group, I wanted to share because I have felt this myself. And someone asked, does anyone feel like they're not autistic enough to count?
Yeah.
This is so relatable.
Yes, so
and
relatable.
I'm just going to preface, we're not discounting level 2 and 3 autistic, because, they're their own experiences. But being level 1 autistic, I have felt this a lot.
Yeah.
And I actually said this to my my psychologist as well. I said, I feel like I can't accommodate for myself because it feels like I'm better off than others, basically.
Yeah.
And this person basically said, I was diagnosed a few months ago as level 1 autistic. Such a relief to know that I'm a normal zebra, not a weird horse. It's such a good little analogy. But because I'm level 1 and I'm high masking, my autism doesn't often affect other people.
Yeah.
And so it feels like I'm being dramatic about my needs, especially since they seem new to everyone else.
This is the problem. It's the contrast, because you don't know you've been masking your whole life.
Exactly. I had this issue as well. I was going through my ADHD assessment forms with my sister today, and she said something about how I never used to be fidgety and that it's only been over the last year or so. She then went on to blame it on a change in meds instead of the unmasking I've been trying really hard to do. I found it really demoralizing that she talked about my unmasking like an unwanted side effect of meds, and I couldn't figure out why it bothered me so much. But as I'm typing this, I've realized it all goes back to feeling like I'm being dramatic about what I need.
And you're putting like issues onto other people,
Yeah.
which you're not, but that's how it feels.
Exactly.
And then when people say things like that, then you feel like you're putting things onto other people.
Exactly. It reinforces that belief that you already have.
Yeah.
I really want to read this one out because I think this one hit me too, because I think when you are level 1 autistic, this is the difference. A lot of the time it doesn't affect other people.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
The cost is in your brain.
Yeah. The cost is completely internal. And this is why people get accommodations for levels 2 and 3, because really, if you think about it, it's because they're affecting others.
Yeah.
And we mean that with respect, but it's usually,
Well, they just need more support in order to get, through school, I guess, or.
And there's no issue with that either.
Yeah.
But because we kind of have masked our whole way through and got through it all, we then come out and start unmasking, and it can feel really like you're naked, and like you feel so vulnerable, and like, I'm not autistic enough. I can't justify this, blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to basically say, I feel the exact same. My psychologist said to me, because I said this to her, that I felt, I just don't see how I'm in the same like category as those people that do need their needs met more. And she's like, Ellie, but you do have needs. And it's like, I realize I have had needs my whole life. I just haven't had them met. And so I've got used to them not being met.
You've pushed them down without even really knowing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you're terrified of, you're a people pleaser and you don't want to let anyone down or annoy anyone, quotation marks.
Yeah. So it all comes back to that people pleasing thing. And also let's just remember as well that like everything's relative, and your struggles may not look from the outside as tough as someone else, but we don't know what's going on in your brain.
Yeah.
And like only you know. And if you are feeling that you're struggling, lean on the people around you. I'm really sorry to hear that your sister has dismissed that. And I know, I get it. When you get confronted by that with someone questioning your whole being,
especially someone very close to you.
Yeah, you freeze. And it's really hard to like justify it then, because then you feel like you're just defending yourself, and you shouldn't have to. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that sucks.
Yeah. Sorry, I just remember one time someone said, have you become more autistic because you took your noise cancelling headphones, you took your squeegee toy?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm not. I am just now meeting my own needs and realizing that this is what I need to soothe myself.
Exactly.
But to the outside, it looks like you're just trying to keep up with this, what people like to say, this you're just trying to make it a quirky, fun thing. No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's finally I've realized when like I go to the supermarket, all those noises are annoying me. And now that I take my headphones with me, I'm like, oh, I'm so much calmer when I leave. Holy moly. I didn't even realize how distressed I actually was until I started meeting those needs. So I just wanted to bring that one out, and because there's probably lots of people listening who are, in quotation marks, level 1 high functioning, and feel that way, that they're not autistic enough. But just remember as well, this is what my psychologist said to me too, is that like all of the stereotypes and what we've known about autism for so long has only been one version of it.
Well, it's only been what people perceive and can see.
Yeah.
Because
everything else
has been invisible for so long. So I get why people have that perception, but it's frustrating for us trying to now like undo all those stereotypes. Well, not undo them because they still exist for some people, but show that there are other experiences of autism, which I guess is now our role, not necessarily role, but we're trying to show that so that people like your sister, for example, doesn't question you and think that you're just making it up. I do also wonder, like, is there any chance your sister's neurodivergent? Yeah.
Like, I do wonder that sometimes where siblings and parents go, oh, you're fine. Like, you're like me. It's like, because I got it from you, Mum.
I am like you because
No, but I hope even just this little chat's made you feel a little bit more seen. But just know I still struggle with not feeling autistic enough, and that I'm just being dramatic. And Ellie's got on fine her whole life. Like all of a sudden at 32, she wants to I'm self-conscious of people going, oh, is Ellie just like becoming like an autism person now because I'm constantly talking about it online?
Also, let's just not forget like the thousands of dollars you spent in order to like figure more out about your brain.
Yeah.
Like, do you think someone would just like do that just for shits and gigs, like for the fun of it?
No, exactly. But yeah, it's hard to beat those voices down because they've been in your head probably your whole life subconsciously actually. So no, we're all autistic enough. We're all different. We all have different needs and different expressions, and that's okay. Now, on to employment. This is a really tough one. We've kind of touched on this in previous episodes, but we thought we'd do like a dedicated episode because in our Google form, we've had quite a lot of people ask about this specifically. So just to kick us off, I'm just going to read a few things that people have said about their working experience and employment and that kind of stuff. So one person asked, can undiagnosed ADHD affect the kind of careers we choose and how we interpret whether we're cut out for them? So this person went into the film industry as a producer because they thrived on chaos, pace and novelty, but then eventually burnt out hard, blamed themselves for being too sensitive or disorganized, and then stepped back. Looking back, I think the real issue was unrecognized ADHD, not that I wasn't good at it. Then there was another person saying, would love to hear more about your personal experiences with making the decision to leave your job when experiencing burnout. So they're talking about me with radio recently. Did you find it hard to not gaslight yourself into believing your experience of burnout wasn't true or serious enough? Short answer, yes. I'll elaborate on that soon. And then someone else said, can you talk about the struggles of maintaining a job? I love it for 3 months. Automate and simplify it for the next 3 months. Coast along doing barely 10 hours work a week while looking busy, normally by studying or planning DIY projects. Then the next 12 months are a downhill slope of boredom until I've either quit or been made redundant.
Oh my God,
that is so relatable. Silver lining is I'm almost about to finish my master's because I've had years of part-time study while getting paid to work. I have an engineering degree and a postgraduate diploma too. I really want a stable career that keeps me engaged, but they all seem repetitive and boring. How can we chat about these things? So there were a lot of people who are talking about employment.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll just start by talking about our career, just our timeline each. I know we've kind of touched on it, but we'll go a little bit more detailed. Do you want a page just go from basically, let's go from 18 or maybe go from when you finished, well, you didn't actually finish uni, did you?
No, I
go from 18.
I started 2 degrees. Started 1 degree, got like a year through that and was like, I'm bored. Stopped that. Then,
and what were your degrees in?
Oh, it was sport and rec. So I was like, oh, I like sport, so I guess I'll try that. And I was also like training for athletics like quite a lot. So it was like sport. Sometimes I feel like not studying your passion is like better. And then I was like, oh, I guess I like animals. So I guess I'll study animal management and welfare. Went to go do the degree. Like a year and a half through it was like, I'm over this. I'm bored.
Yeah.
And so I pulled out and got the diploma. Like I stuck it out to the 2 years and then left after 2 years, got the diploma, but didn't stay for the degree. And then Then literally have only just paid off my student loan at 30.
Yep.
For 2 degrees that I didn't use at all.
Yeah, classic.
So
I
it's
bet
just-
there's lots of people listening who have done that.
Yeah. I mean, don't regret anything. It's fine. But, life's life. Then, of course, I've talked about this before, how I ended up giving up athletics because I was just burnt the F out.
Which is such a shame because
It is such a shame.
you're trying to keep up to make money.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with the capitalistic society is that like money has to come first.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah. So I gave that up, which I was really good at. So,
You were good at it. That's why it's a shame.
It is a shame. Anyway, and then, so I was, trying to study, working at Subway part-time and doing that. And then also trying to like enjoy my first couple of years at uni. And then, completely burnt out, gave up athletics, then proceeded for the next few years after that diploma. I got a job in an agency, which was fine. It was fun for like the first like year or two. I got to do a bit of traveling, so that was fun. Overwhelming and stressful, but like it was extremes. It was like extreme highs and extreme lows that I found really hard. I won't go into it, but I used to have to be somewhere for 3 months at a time and work like at least 10 hours a day, at least 6 days a week.
Away from all your comforts.
Away from my comforts in a hotel room. And I would literally, I know you can relate to this, I would literally like vomit every morning before having to go in because I was clearly not knowing at the time, but I was so overwhelmed and stressed and anxious without knowing. Like, why was I vomiting? I wasn't sick. Well, like physically sick.
This is an interesting one actually, because that's a classic example of there's a whole team around you who are also doing what you're doing, but they seem to be coping fine with it. You know what I mean?
From what I saw.
Yeah. And so it can feel, did you have a bit of like, why am I like this? Why can't I do this? Why are they all fine?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there was one point where my medication that worked for me, later on in the piece, so maybe like 3 years later, I was still in this role actually. And this was near the end of this time at this agency. And I did go on another trip, the same as that, overseas for 3 months. And I would have been like 26 maybe. And this was is that right?
Don't know.
When did I get diagnosed?
You're about 26.
Yeah, right. So this would have been about like 25. No. This was after I'd been medicated, found medication that worked for me, and they ran out of my medication while I was overseas. Like there was like a shortage like worldwide. So I was like stressed out not having my meds, and then I also lost my glasses, and I literally remember having this massive meltdown outside. I was just like hysterical because I couldn't cope and I was stressed. And now looking back, I was like, oh my God, that was like complete burnout and overwhelm. And so then not long after that, I left that job and then got another job, which I enjoyed as a contractor, and then slowly built my own design sort of business from there, and started getting more contract clients, which was cool. And then now I feel like I'm in a good position with more freedom, can kind of control my own like schedule and stuff, which means a lot to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. But you really, with that agency that you worked for like what, 4 or 5 years? Was it 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
Maybe 4 years?
4 years, 4.
That was really a great, cool agency actually. Like in terms of agencies, it was a cool agency. But you also struggled with this is the other thing that people don't understand about AuDHD. It's not just going to being in the office and being around people and having the draining of the people, the energy, the sounds, the lights that overstimulate you. It's actually the thing that really stressed me and you out going into jobs like that was the transitions to the office. So like for us, every morning waking up was a mountain of tasks just to get on the bus. Yeah. And then even the bus was a whole experience in itself with people and is there a seat? And
I would be exhausted by the time I got to work. Oh my God, I've got an 8-hour day ahead of me and then I've got to do the same bus thing again.
Yeah. And I used to think like, is everyone like not feeling the exact same exhaustion as I am? Like, and you take it so internally and you blame yourself until you realize that you might be AuDHD or neurodivergent, whatever. It's really hard. This is why, again, diagnosis is important because I would turn on myself and I would assume that everyone else is absolutely fine. So, just get on with it, Ellie. Like everyone else is fine.
Yeah.
So just get on with it. And I would push through so hard on all of that. And so would you.
Yeah.
To the point that we were just so burnt out on the weekends.
We didn't have a life outside of our jobs because as much
No.
as I wanted to do exercise and have like these hobbies, we didn't have the energy.
No, they swallowed us.
Yeah.
Like my full-time employment swallowed me
yeah,
whole.
totally.
Like I was just not there. And I used to personally, as I've mentioned before, I would come home from work and I would be smoking weed like immediately and knocking myself out essentially. And eating shit to make myself feel better, to dopamine seek, to then wake up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And I put weight on.
And it's a feedback loop. So you do it more and then it gets,
And it just gets worse and worse. And then the more you eat shit, the worse you feel.
Yeah.
And then, it's a cycle where you just end up really, really, really not okay.
And now in hindsight, would you say that you were like burnt out a lot of that time?
Oh, I think I've actually been burnt out since I was 16.
Yeah.
I think I've been in perpetual burnout for 16 years and it just comes and goes. It kind of like comes and goes. Like it escalates and then I pull it back and then it escalates quicker again the next time. I was definitely burnt out. I actually found what I found stressful about the work as well was not necessarily the jobs, but the people and the interactions and
Me too.
because I was also I'm very much like, never put your shit on anyone else, never take it out on anyone, hold your emotions in. I think it's because I know I can be quite emotional that I mask it so heavily. So a lot of my energy is actually going into like, masking and like stopping what I actually think and trying to people please and
appeasing people and appeasing their needs.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're trying to say here is that work when it comes to neurodivergent people is not just about the work. It's the everything around it. So I'll just go through my career quickly so you can see where I'm coming from. I went to university, studied psychology for 3 years, knew I didn't have the skills at that point to be a psychologist, but also didn't enjoy studying. It's too much reading and I just get bored. And I was procrastinating and doing things the night before, still getting really good grades, but not a healthy lifestyle. I left, ended up working for a big corporate company for about 13 months doing like e-business essentially. And I like hated it because it was just so boring.
I remember that.
And like, no disrespect to the company, but I didn't enjoy it because it was too repetitive. It was at the same desk every day, placing orders. Literally, it was just placing online orders for this product. And I was so understimulated. And then I got moved to a different job. They were trying this different job and I had real issues with my manager. And it was kind of like the manager of this role, not my manager. My manager was fine, but the manager who was managing this new role, I really struggled with this person. And I think this has been one of my issues is I struggle with people sometimes. I'm good with them, but I appease them too much that I end up being abused.
Trodden on,
Yeah, and I got to the point where I felt like so abused in a way.
Or maybe like manipulated or like controlled.
Yeah. And like not listened to, not heard. I was saying my needs. I was saying that this role had flaws to it essentially because it was a new role. I was saying there's flaws to this role and it's not going to work and they wouldn't listen to me. And this is another classic.
Because it's more work for them.
Yeah.
It's just admin.
They just wanted it to work. And this is a classic example again of being neurodivergent and understanding things really deeply, noticing patterns, being able to see the future in the way of like pattern
efficiency.
recognition. Yeah. And I was giving all this feedback and I wasn't being heard. And I actually ended up leaving that role and ended up speaking with HR and it ended really yucky. Like not bad, but it just ended yucky. And I felt really the injustice I had was like, oh, it's so unfair. I felt like I'd failed because I'm such a high achiever. I felt like I'd failed that role they'd created for me. And I was so down in the dumps. And this is the bit where I was at the darkest point of my life. But when I was going to that job, I was waking up most mornings and vomiting into my toilet, just like you, Paige, from anxiety, having to get to work, deal with people, sit in that chair for 8 hours. The only good thing about working there is because we sold beverages, there was a vending machine. You could just drink free beverages the whole time. So it was really bad. I got addicted to a specific energy drink.
Which one?
I won't mention the brand.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry.
But that was a cool little perk, but not good for the health. I think that's why they get the people to stay there. They're like, oh, vending machines. No disrespect to that company, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the darkest bit of my life. And this is where I found the marijuana and I found,
other things.
Yeah, the old abusing of the body. And I felt really useless because I was such a high achiever at school.
Yeah. Talk about the contrast.
This is the contrast, where I was a very gifted child. Primary and intermediate were a bloody breeze. Like I just didn't even have to try really.
Smart.
I was just so smart. And so mum used to say to the teachers, oh, I need to challenge Ellie. She's not learning. She's not learning how to learn. Just a bloody breeze.
And then there was me.
no, you were good too, but you were different.
Yeah.
Then college was like, high school, was like, I was still good at it. It was harder because I had to actually study and stuff, but I still did well. But then the contrast of coming out of this job and having a degree and then being like, just doing nothing. Like I just didn't know what I was doing.
Because you don't also have the external like structure from a school to push you.
Yeah, exactly. I felt so down in the dumps, so shit about myself. This is when I got diagnosed with depression, anxiety and stuff. And then I ended up working in radio in just a promotional role where I just go out on the streets and I just give out free stuff. And it was part-time, so it wasn't full-time. That was actually quite fun because it was like different every day and I liked my team and stuff, but again, wasn't bringing enough money in. And then I ended up going into a sales role in that company just to get money. I didn't like that because for me, sales, I don't like sales personally because it feels ingenuine. Like it feels like you have to fake it in a way to get the sale across. And it's just not in my nature to do that. So I can't do sales ever again. Then I ended up in actual radio doing online content and then I ended up being a producer of a radio show. I loved being in radio. I actually do love that industry because I thrive off the chaos and the unpredictability and the kind of like changing every day. But at the same time, I was in perpetual burnout all the time because I now realize my autistic side struggled with the ever-changing environment. It was just very high pressure, constant
stimulation of people, everything.
Yeah, like just always had to be on. As a producer, you've got to be the smiley face that like if you've got an interview and the singer's coming in, you've got to be like smiley. So even though the talent have to do that, producers have to as well.
So in one breath there, or in the same breath, you pretty much said, loved it because of the chaos, at the same time, hated it because of the chaos. And this is the whole thing about AuDHD.
Exactly. So it was so confusing. And this is where I got really, really burnt out. And I started really, the weed sort of increased and the bad eating increased. And I just had a really hard time.
Yeah.
Like sticking to it. I loved the actual job, but I struggled to stick to it. And I struggled with I love the people because they're really fun people in radio, but then also it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot in radio. And I used alcohol a lot because it was quite an alcohol induced industry in a way. Like there's always alcohol kind of around.
It was like parties and events and like.
Yeah. And then, just summary there. I was struggling and abusing my body and not having a life because my whole job had swallowed me.
Swallowed you. That's such a good way to put it.
Yeah,
you don't have the capacity for absolutely anything else.
No.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was enjoying life. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel. But then I liked my job because it was kind of cool and fun. It was such a weird contrast. Like I knew that I didn't want to leave necessarily because where else would I go that has this kind of environment? And I liked my team and stuff. Then COVID hit and it was weird being in radio because our show still went into work because it was a essential service. But then I noticed, this is where I started really wondering, like, I think I'm like autistic because I just feel like I'm loving this. There's no demands. Like no one's talking to me. It was just crazy. I was like, why am I liking this so much? When my whole life I'd been told I'm an extrovert. Like, oh, you're so good with people. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Loved it. Realized I was in burnout, completely crashed. And then I got a job at Viva La Dirt League, which is a YouTube channel I'd been acting in. They poached me essentially. They offered me a job and I went, that sounds awesome. I'll come across.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a fortuitous situation. And then I got to work from home for like 2 years. And I was the only employee initially because this is a brand new YouTube channel kind of, it was established, but it was starting to take off. And I liked working from home because it gave me freedom. But then this is where it was the complete opposite. I went from radio, which was just chaos constantly, to being at home on my own in my room by myself, trying to work. And I was a social media manager. And this is where I went, I don't know if I got ADHD. Like this is when this ADHD thing started happening too, where I was like, oh my God, I do have ADHD because I can't concentrate unless someone or there's a deadline looming or someone's watching me.
Yeah.
And I still got the jobs done because I never let anyone down, but it was really hard to motivate myself.
Yeah.
And I realized like, this is where I got really angry because I was like, what do I want? I don't want to be in radio because it's too much. And now I'm struggling to be at home because it's not enough.
Yeah.
I just got so angry at myself and so confused.
And even before we knew like we were autistic, I think I'd say things to you which wouldn't have helped, but you don't know what you don't know. I would say like, I feel like with you, like the grass is always greener, bro. Like, what do you want? And so sorry about that. But I guess that's the most confusing thing about AuDHD is like, you love it and you hate it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're in for different reasons because you've got your autism pulling you this way and you've got your ADHD pulling you this way for different reasons. And it's so confusing and exhausting.
Yeah.
But then
so
you get
hard.
like bored, if there's no like stimulation and novelty, and it's just like, what can I do?
Exactly. Exactly right. This is where we're kind of coming to here, is that I think people, if you're feeling like, where do I go? How do I do this? Because at the end of the day, we need to make money, which is so frustrating. But just know that I'm not saying you can't find the perfect job. There probably are people out there who are really thriving in their roles, but I personally find it really hard.
Yeah, maybe there's like a really good scenario if you're an employee, because I think some people do need that structure and some people don't like working from home. So if you're one of those people, like maybe if there's like an ideal situation where you have a good relationship with your manager and you can express to them that I'm autistic, these are my needs, how can we work together to even just start with one of these things, like to see, I don't know, it's just like a game of trying to manage it and make it work for you.
Exactly.
I don't know, but then that also depends on who your manager is, because there's some people that shouldn't be managers and don't want to look after people. And I think that's the most important trait to be as a manager. But anyway, and so that's hard when you don't have someone that's willing to listen.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I worked for Viva La Dirt League for like just about 4 years. And then I left there organically because of my partner and I were starting our business. And then I kind of still felt like, oh, no, I want to do something again. I just want to do something a little bit extra, I think. Again, just itchy feet. What am I doing? La, la, la. Then a maternity cover role came up in radio again. And I'd left radio 5 years ago. And I was like, I do love radio. I want to go back there. I remember that. That was a fun job. That was a really fun. So anyway.
It's like thinking about an ex, you only remember the good things and then you go back and not that you didn't enjoy it.
I did not enjoy it. I did like going back, but I went back and to cover a 12-month role because I was like, you know what? That's perfect. I have 12 months and I can leave then.
It's fine. It's easier. Yeah.
It is. Anyway, as I've mentioned, I've been in perpetual burnout for so long and I was in burnout. I recovered from it.
But you recover, but you don't. The thing with burnout is that when you recover, you deplete so much quicker next time.
Yeah. So then I went back into radio, and this is the thing that one of the people said. This is what happens to me. I go into radio, it's all a big novelty again. Everything's all fun.
I'm here.
Woo, all my friends, I'm back with my friends. I'm back with the job I love, and like everything's really fun, new team. And this is the thing about ADHD. I like it at the start because it's all new and it's change and it's like woohoo and like it's exciting and everything. And then literally within 3 months.
You got your rose-tinted glasses on.
Exactly. And then within 3 months, you're back bogged down into the actual job.
And it swallows you again.
Yeah, and it swallows you again. And I still enjoyed it. This is I'm not shitting on the job itself. I'm just talking about my ability to cope with it. Then it gets to the point where I'm bogged down again. The demands of the people and the environments become way too much. And then I just came into burnout really quickly again, which I've mentioned. And I tell you, someone asked, was it hard for you to stop gaslighting yourself and think that you're being, dramatic?
I can vouch for this.
Yeah. Paige was saying to me for months, you need to leave, Ellie. You need to leave. You need to leave. And I'm like, I don't want to leave. I've only got a few months. Like, it's all good.
I don't want to let anyone down.
Yeah, I don't want to let anyone down. I'm fine. It's all good. Like, everyone else is doing, like, again, gaslighting. Everyone else is coping fine. And also, because I used to do radio, I was sort of like, well, this is my thing, though. Like, this is fine. And anyway, it got to a point where my psychologist said to me, Ellie, you need a week off. And even that was hard. But I did it because she told me to do it.
And you're lucky you had a really good manager that respects you and loves you.
This is the difference. Is I had a manager who I had a good relationship with and they were very, very accommodating and I got to give it to them for that. They gave me a week off and then it was at that point that I completely burnt out again. As soon as you stop.
This is the thing when you stop.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I came back and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave. And I gave them 2 months notice though. I didn't want to just leave. So I basically said, I'm going to have to leave earlier than the 12 months. And they were good about it. They were really, really good about it. But I unfortunately had to leave. And, it really was hard on me because I am such a high achiever. I felt like I'd failed. I felt like I'd let the team down. I didn't want anyone to think it was actually their fault either. Like I was so conscious of being like, this is not you guys, it's me. And I felt like a failure as like a 32-year-old adult, like couldn't complete my 12-month contract. It was just so demoralizing. But I had to do it. And I'm just, I guess, encouraging you, if you're listening, like, I'm lucky I've got a partner who supports me and I know that it's not the case for everyone.
And a sister.
And a sister. No, but true. Yeah. And I do have that. But I don't regret now the decision I made.
Yeah.
I was very sad to leave because this is the other thing. I'm very sentimental and I get really attached to people and things. And I think that's slightly an autistic trait too. I love my team and I was really sad to leave and I still get sad thinking about it. Like I didn't want to leave, but I had to leave. And it's just so hard. And now I'm back in working for my partner, so that's very lucky. I'm even doing some part-time work for Paige, doing these podcasts. And I think now I've only just come right of like balancing out. But again, I've got a partner who I can kind of lean on if I have to. I'm still bringing income in, but I don't have to rely on myself as much as I used to.
We are lucky. And I think for me, I am lucky in the sense that I think that in comparison to you, Ellie, my ADHD drives me more than what my autism pulls me back. So that slight imbalance is actually what's driven me for the last 10 years to get to the point where I am with my job and being my own boss and having this freedom. Whereas someone like you and other people like you are in that awful paralysis where, like you can't stick at things. I do think being medicated for me has also helped with that consistency. And I will say it's frustrating in an online world of being told like the biggest trait that you can have to be successful is not talent, is not, although those things helps, the biggest thing is consistency. To be successful in your job, with anything, with the gym, whatever it is, the biggest thing is consistency. And you see it all the time online. And for people like us, it is very frustrating because consistency is the bane of our lives as an AuDHD. And I think people with AuDHD will be listening to this and nodding their head to this because consistency is the hardest thing.
It is, yeah. And it's the most important thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it sucks.
It's really, really hard. It's really hard.
Like you got to be okay with the boringness and push through, but it's just awful.
Yeah, no, it's really hard.
It's really hard.
It's really hard. So don't get down on yourself if you're seeing people saying, you just got to stay consistent and you can't stay consistent. Don't hate yourself.
No,
it's okay.
I've been giving myself the grace, and I've just been going, okay, I'm burnt out this week. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm not going to do that because that's just going to burn me out more. And then I'm going to not have the energy to give what I can give to like my job and everything. And having the last week kind of really off and like not beating myself up for it has made all the difference and made me feel a lot more energized this week. Yeah. If I'd pushed through it, I'd be even more burnt out.
Exactly.
So you just got to learn what like works for you.
Yeah. And don't hate yourselves on those weeks that you are not doing as much as you should be, or should is the wrong word.
Yeah, should is the wrong word. And don't listen to like, although yes, it's right to an extent that like, yes, consistency will get you places. Maybe for us, we like being consistent, yes, long term, but like having a week here and there to better your mental health. Like don't be like, oh, I'm not doing what I said I would do this week, but like give yourself the grace and then just pick it up next week.
Yeah, exactly right. Dr. Karam Sadiq, he's an amazing AuDHD psychiatrist, one of the best in the world. He actually says that the most consistent thing about him is that he's consistently inconsistent. And I just could not agree with that more.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm consistent in my inconsistency.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
Then when you've got, your ADHD traits, wanting the unpredictability, the novelty seeking, you've also got the rejection sensitivity, which I struggle with in workplaces with because I'd get an email from my boss and I'd just read into it and think that I'm getting fired when like really I'm not.
Same.
Poor regulation under stress, so then I'd smoke weed. Then the autism wants predictability, sensitivity to the workplace dynamics or overstimulation. Like I would see issues in the workplace and want to fix them, but no one would listen. And it was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
There's so much clashing in a workplace. With these two consistent things, and then the masking in itself, you just got to mask the whole day, even on the bus. If you're, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So we are now both, I guess, we've come back to basically self-employment, and it's been hard because the reason I wanted to go back to radio for a bit was to actually have a consistent salary. Yeah. Because for me, I like knowing that I'm getting the same amount of money each week, just so I know I'm getting it. Whereas contracting, it's sort of like, oh yeah, you might get a bigger bulk, but like you don't know when you're going to get that bigger bulk.
You have to extrapolate that, is that the word, over X amount of months, because if you don't and your ADHD gets better of you and you buy that new thing, then whoop.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we did kind of end up in bouncing around all around the place. We never really have been that consistent. I think like your talent of art and graphic design's kind of always been consistent, but even then you've been doing all sorts of jobs like video editing, and me and Paige have been those people that have just said yes to everything and done so many different things.
Yes, I've bounced around in that creativity space, and now even with my business, but even though I'm self-employed and I'm doing my design business, I still bounce between different pillars in my business. That's where I let my ADHD run wild. Like this week I'm like, okay, I'm going to go social media, I'm going to work on this. The next week I'm like, oh, I'm bored of that now, so I'll work on my systems and processes. So it is quite a good setup for me that I had this like umbrella of my design business and then which my autism loves. And then within that, I kind of bounce around depending on what I feel like doing. So it kind of scratches both of my little brains.
That's great.
Yeah.
But it's taken you, 30 years to get there kind of thing.
Yeah, I was working hard when I was 1 year old. Yeah. It took me, well, let's say.
12 years since leaving school to be in this position.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, I think in terms of like advice here, we don't have a lot of advice because you're in a workplace that we can't change straight away. But I think the biggest piece of advice is just to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you are feeling burnt out, you're in your brain, if you're feeling like you're not coping, you're probably not.
You're probably not, yeah.
And do not compare yourself to others because they've got their own issues or struggles, but they're not the same as yours. And I just try and be kind to yourself, work for yourself or if you need to, or work for others if that helps you. But again, I'm coming from a place of I've done all of it. And 1 minute I like that and then the next minute I like that. It's very, very confusing.
Yeah.
You're not lazy. You're not flaky. You're not ungrateful for your job. Because it's the other thing. I would gaslight myself and go, oh, but I'm so lucky to have a job. No one's got jobs at the moment. It's really hard to get a job. I should just stay at my job because I'm really lucky.
Yeah.
And I just, again, gaslight. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, was it serving my personal being?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. And there's no shame in wanting a different job. There's no shame in leaving a career you've been in for 20 years even.
No.
There's no shame in changing your career at 40. That's okay.
No, yeah.
If you finally realize what you actually want, then that's amazing. Like you've got so much time left.
Yeah.
I asked on the Reddit, what people do for their jobs because I wanted to see have people actually clocked it? Like have people worked out like what the best job is for them? And we've got one here that said they work in forestry. They tried a few different things, academic work, office work, catering, before gravitating towards forestry, before they were aware that they were AuDHD. Now they're basically self-employed. They switch between working in their home office and then being out in the woods.
Oh my God.
That sounds like a good little balance.
Cool.
Yeah, it's honestly about as ideal as I could get for me if I have to have a proper job. If I'd known about AuDHD early, I probably would have realized sooner that forestry would be a good choice. So there's still client pressures and all that kind of stuff, but it's helpful to have the ability to shut myself away from human contact for a couple of days. So that sounds like that person's really got a good balance of being able to be out in the forest
love
and
that.
then being in an office and still having to, because at the end of the day, we still have to make our money, which is bloody frustrating. One other person is doing digital work and texturing for a game.
Whoa.
So that must be like video game art, I guess.
Oh my God.
It's pretty
like making textures for games.
Yeah, it's pretty laid back and covers most things in terms of pay. Not great, not terrible, could be more. It's somewhat like what I see other people say for IT things. I can work whenever and do mostly my own thing without interruption. Helps that it's pretty much all creative work. So aside from artist block near a deadline or low level burnout, it's pretty convenient and lucky. So that's awesome.
That's cool.
I honestly do also think about what you would naturally gravitating towards when you were like 2 years old. Like what was it? 2, 3, 4, 5. What were you doing as a kid? Paige, you were doing art. You were constantly drawing, constantly painting all the time. Now you're a graphic designer.
My art was up in our mum and dad's house, but there was none of Ellie's art.
Thank you. No, literally though, like I'm so bad at art. But yeah, like you were very much like clearly into art. The thing that stood out for me was I was quite I did a lot of writing actually in my little books. But I also did a lot of performing. I was always making up skits, performing for my family, making you
dances.
Making you be the shit part while I get the good part and like recreating like scenes from Annie and like I was always performing. And I think I deterred away from that at school not at school, but after school because I thought it's not going to make me money. But at the end of the day, I've ended up being an actor anyway in some capacity. And I've ended up being a radio and a podcast host. So like,
you ended up going back. We both have gone back to those things that we were doing at 2, 3 years old.
Yeah. So try to like think back to really young. What was your little self doing? What did they really, really love to do? And maybe you'll find there's a career in that. Because remember as well, like from when we were 2 or even 18 till now, let's say that's 15 years, the world's changed so much. There's so many new jobs now that didn't exist when you were 18. Yes. So maybe have a look around and go, is there something else I could be doing?
And also now with like TikTok and Instagram, like obviously content creation and showing say if it is arts and crafts, like showing that online. But I guess unfortunately the thing with that is you have to be consistent with your posting in order to grow. But finding a consistency that works for you. And like that's like an avenue for people to pop off online. Like you didn't have that back in the day.
Exactly right. There's so many other opportunities. And even with like digital IT stuff. Like there's so many IT jobs now as well, which would probably, like that person was saying, you kind of like just work on your own, get to be a bit creative or mathematical depending on which part of the programming you're doing. But there'll be heaps of jobs like that now compared to when you may have left school at 18. So don't be afraid to, I know it's scary, but don't be afraid to
experiment.
Divert.
Yeah, and also I will say, like, obviously this is hard for the people who feel like they're stuck in that paralysis like you have been, Ali. But I tried so many different random things, failed at most of them. And I think like failure is the stepping stones to success.
Amen.
People think like, oh, what if I fail? What if I'm not perfect? Like, yeah, you're not going to be perfect and you're going to fail. That's the whole point. And I think people like us, perfectionists, struggle with that because if we're not good 100% when we start, it's like, oh, this isn't it. No, not necessarily. So just learning to fail well.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. And then eventually you'll find something that starts to stick, or you'll find that opens up another door into another avenue that
you hadn't even thought about.
Yeah, it all starts to snowball in some way.
Yeah.
So just try little things and don't get down on yourself if it was a failure, because it's not a failure. It's literally learning.
It's actually where you learn. And I also look at my radio, my second bout of radio, how I left early. I now see that more as, hey, I went back, I did it. I've shown that I can still do it, but it's actually not for me anymore. Like it kind of made me realize, no, actually what I do want, I started realizing what I wanted when I was doing something I didn't want.
Sometimes you got to go where you don't want to go to realize that you don't want to go there.
Amen.
So that you knew that you didn't want to go there. And if you didn't go there, then you never would have known that you didn't want to go there.
Amen, sister.
So sometimes you got to go where you don't want to go in order to realize where you want to go.
That's exactly what I've just done. And the grass is never greener. No, just kidding.
There's going to be pros and cons to everything. So remember that. I know it's hard.
And don't be hard on yourself. As I was saying before, being a gifted child, well, it was me, no, but being a gifted child, you do end up with that perfectionism and that shame of like, I need to be good at this. Why am I not perfect anymore? I felt like I was letting down everyone, my family and everything, but it's not true. And you've got needs. And also we're getting older now. Our bodies are not like they bloody used to be.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, look at that bicep. If you're watching on YouTube, what a bicep.
Not as good anymore.
Hopefully, look, we haven't really provided any solutions here because, again, we're still learning. We just want to share our experiences, but be kind to yourself.
It's honestly just trying to keep that inner voice in line. Sorry, bro. Just cut over you, yeah.
It is. And me and Paige, although maybe it looks like we've got, it all together and maybe we've got a good podcast and all that kind of stuff, really inside we're still squirming. We're still trying our best. We're still not sure what we're doing and we're all just guessing and no one actually knows what the F they're doing.
No, yeah. I've just spent the last 2 weeks neglecting everyone.
Yeah.
Literally my whole family.
Yeah, I haven't talked to my friends for the last 2 weeks actually. I feel like I've been in a bit of weird burnout. I was sick as well, but I feel like I've been in social burnout. I don't know. I just haven't wanted to talk to anyone really.
Yeah.
It's been, I don't know. It just comes and goes. So yeah, we will post a little Reddit thread about this episode. Feel free to share your experiences because I think sharing our experiences is what is going to help everyone feel less alone.
Yeah.
And if you've got similar experiences to us, just know that Paige and I, our careers have been tumultuous and all over the place and we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I still don't really know fully what I want to do, but I know that I want to help people who are neurodivergent. That's something I've discovered actually in the last 12 months is like, that's where I want to be. I studied psychology. That's where I want to be. And I've started finally getting that direction. And it's the first time I've felt in my gut that I'm following a passion of mine.
That burning fire feeling.
Yeah.
I just realized that I started a new profession over the last month.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that. Started a new hobby/profession that I'm learning about.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you don't want to share it?
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, so you're
I'm just trying to say that even though I'm doing my design business and sticking it there, I'm still
just still learning other things to see if that's better or
my ADHD brain is like, ooh, what about this?
Yeah. So no, just know none of us are perfect, and if you are in burnout, don't be afraid to have your needs met, and you are enough, and you are autistic enough, and you are ADHD enough to have your needs met.
Yeah.
Being level 1 just means that you've got needs that haven't been met the whole time, which is really unfortunate and quite sad.
Yeah.
So we're here for you.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you guys.
We will be back next week for another episode. Let us know if there's anything else you want us to chat about.
In the Reddit.
And we're also open to feedback. Was this helpful? I do appreciate feedback, even though the RSD doesn't love it. If it's bad, I do appreciate constructive feedback because I want to know, are these episodes helping you?
Yeah.
Or do you want other directions? So please let us know.
That is good. Yeah.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
And week, and we'll chat to you next time.
Bye.